everyone would though like to be in the same position as France right now.
Oof.
Because if you had that chance to watch the French play Ireland, they are, Brynna, something else when they get going. I mean, and so typically French, which makes it even better.
I enjoyed watching them so much. You know, they probably struggled a little bit with not Anton Dupont there, but like, man, having him back is just so big for them. And I thought Alibert as well was outstanding. I know they talked around in France, you know, can that combination work? Because they're both, you know, pretty pivotal around like you wanted to play with the ball in hand and having control of the game. But look, I thought their combination on the weekend was outstanding. I think more so Halibert's kicking game as well. His general play kicking and being able to get them in the right areas of the field, game management wise, I thought was world class and was a big part of the reason why they ran that game. But I think also like their ball carries and their offloads, like, man, they're just like, we talk around French flair, but they obviously practice it. It's a big part of their DNA, and they get themselves into positions where they're able to get offloads, and it always finds someone. So in their click attack and being able to get the counter attack of the hard ball gets of probably the Irish, who on the other side were just way more conservative, because I just don't think they have the probably the X factor of a French or of a New Zealand with the players that they selected to be able to get over the advantage line and really ask questions. Yes, now they are very, very structured, but geez, when you're not getting over the advantage line and you're not making line breaks or offloads like you were with the French, the game plan that they did have, they would try, and especially with the conditions, they had to win a suffocation game, and they just were not able to do that against the French, who were firing on all cylinders.
In rugby teams, there's that personality. And I reckon everyone out, sort of like Artie did for Moana Pacifica, I feel like Dupont, every time he is fit and available, everyone else rises with him. You know?
Yep.
And even just looking at that try after half-time, the box kicks, obviously they've got a good relationship, Ramos, and they sort of read each other really well. But just that, you talk about hardball gets, like that, the desperation, but the smarts, because he could have grabbed that and got tackled, potentially knocked it on, but the smarts to kick it, albeit not the prettiest kick, but very effective.
But off the outside of his boot and intentionally.
Yeah, but
it was pretty amazing.
It was a bit of it felt like when you got on that, I felt like it looked like it was just like, I'm trying to just hack it ahead, and it worked out perfectly.
But Thomas Ramos' hack is different to everybody else in the world.
But I, when they're on, is there a better side to watch? Because it's just, you don't know what's coming. I am surprised though, with Ireland. I don't know, like, do you just remember like when they came down to New Zealand and won, and his body's in motion, and it's like, it was quite hectic to defend. Like they had 60-odd% lightning quick ball, but I don't know, they just couldn't dent that line, could they? And it just didn't feel like there's that same deception that they had when they were down here and taking this title. And I think Sexton's a big, I don't know, like everyone said he's not a big part, but I feel like he is quite a missing cog.
Prendergast certainly under pressure, isn't he?
I think they've just struggled. I think they've gone between Prendergast and Crowley. Look, I think, they're a little bit different in terms of what their styles are, but I think, you've got to back one of them. So depending on which way they do go, but yeah, Prendergast was put under a lot of pressure. And look, I think you have got to look at the game plan as well. Like they just did not want to play footy. Like I know the weather probably dictated that, but they pretty much strike for 3 phases. They did a lot of box kicks off Jamison, whether it was manufactured in the middle of the field, going to box kicks and not being able to get the ball back. And I think that was a big part of it as well, Jip. I think we know how much the escort game is now, but they just were not able to get that ball back. So you're giving back the ball back to the French, who are able to hold on to the ball, have offloads, build collisions, and then have the Berry and Dupont getting little tops kicks and all that kind of stuff. So they just weren't able to get what they were wanting, I think, from that territorial game with the kicking of Jamison and co.
I think you've got to do Prendergast a favour and give him a spell. Because we all know, mate, like Bill Berry was ankle tapped. He slid to his knees and still went on in and out. Like, are you not shutting down that time and space defensively? Like that to me just looks like someone just needs to get their confidence back. Like go back to club footy and get some runs, because he's a great player. Like we've all seen it. Like he's got the skill set, but
defensively, he's missed a lot of tackles. He missed a lot of tackles in that game when they lost to France at home last year.
Yeah, but I think that's what's not allowing him to. Like that's a big mistake early, and you know that was easy that was an easy defensive stop. Like, if he's not a good tackler, that's fine, but you can still react and get in front of him. Like, he slid to his knees, got back up, went in and out. I was like, how has he had that much time?
Yeah.
Like, I know he's good.
And I think Andy Farrell talked about it after the game, like their intent was just really bad. He said he never would have seen it in an Ireland team. Like, I think even like maybe the first 20 minutes or 30 minutes, I think, Ireland they made like 40 tackles and they missed 13 of them. Just probably quite disappointing, I thought, with the Irish, but it just wasn't helped, I think, with how good the French were on the weekend as well.
The French depth at 10 was one thing that stood out for me. Obviously, Jalibert came in, and you obviously got Intermac, and then Ramos can step up in their depth, but also the confidence that they have in the way those teams approach it, their kicking game, their ability to read, the short kicks, the wide kicks. Like, it's just insane how much they've got.
And that's why I struggle with France, because like then they just have a switch-off game. Man, they've got all the ability to, go all the way at the 2027 World Cup, but we thought that in 2024, and it didn't happen. Like they're a hard team to analyse, because when they're untouchable when they're on, but man, they can just have these lapses where they completely just turn off.
It feels like there's fewer of those now.
There is, but when the big moment comes, it does seem to rear its head. And this is round 1 of the Six Nations. It's not a quarter-final. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, okay, man, do that.
That France and English game at the end of this campaign will be a big one, especially with Scotland losing to Italy.
It'll be the decider.
Massive.
Yeah, the Scottish are just so inconsistent.
I mean, the weather was bad, but they had 66% territory.
Yeah.
And possession pretty much. And if you look, when you break it down in terms of where the possession was, most of that 2/3 nearly of that was in between the 40 and the halfway.
Yeah.
So there's just playing too much rugby, and in those conditions they should have just been.
And they weren't making line breaks.
No, they didn't make any.
Line breaks.
And it's just like I just thought, do they think just because it's Italy it's going to happen? Do you know what I mean? But conditions like that is the ultimate leveller. And they just they didn't use the ball they had very wisely.
And they had quick ball.
Yeah, but they just overplayed. It was. But Italy, they're definitely on the rise. There's no doubt. Because Scotland is still a good side, but they just didn't. I feel like sometimes when, I suppose teams that think they're better than lower teams, they sort of just assume it's going to happen. Yeah. And that's what it looked like to me with Scotland.
3 things that I saw from that game is around the defensive effort of how the Italians defended. 224 tackles and 44 dominant. Ross, I think that was the stats that we were given. That is unbelievable in terms of having dominant tackles. So I think the set piece as well, Scotland's set piece in their line-out throws was horrific. They just could not win a line-out. I think they're operating at 40 or 50% after 60 minutes. So especially in wet weather game, the fact that the Italians took their 2 tries and the opportunist tries in the first 15, 20 minutes. It just wasn't a game where you're going to see Scotland and their tech that we've kind of waxed lyrical about the last couple of years of having Russell and co being able to play at the line with those conditions. So I just think the kicking game as well. They were able to put the ball in behind and just played really smart with the footy. So I just think the Italians just played a lot better. They were smarter and they made line breaks. They looked like the more posing team on the attack side. They were able to make line breaks and actually, put the defence under pressure. Where you'd probably think, if you'd look in before the game, Scotland or Italy, who's going to make more line breaks? You're going to say Scotland. So, full credit to the Italians. It's not like the Scottish lost this game. The Italians were way better than how the Scottish were, and it's probably just the line out that I think the Scottish will have to have a hard look at as well.
The Italians, they've knocked off Wales, Scotland, Japan, Australia. They, outside of those kind of top 5 or 6 teams who, are always the kind of powerhouses, they're now kind of the next one out. Consistency
will be the key, because they do have these one-off. You know how Japan went through this phase? They'd beat a South Africa, but then would, lose to someone they were expected to win the next week. I still feel Italy are there.
Yeah.
They're improving, don't get me wrong, but I'd love to see them go back to back with a big win. It's almost like they get these wins and they just are relieved. Yeah. Versus we need to be sharper this week.
Well, unfortunately for them, it's not a good time to go to Ireland after the way Ireland lost.
No.
Now, George Ford. Here's a guy we were talking about 10s for France, who's a bit of a renaissance, because he seemed like a bit of a has-been a couple of years ago. Like it wasn't working out. He'd missed those shots against the All Blacks. You know, there was both of the Smiths coming through. Now George Ford looks like the man.
Yeah, and he was massive in that, although they didn't get to the final of the World Cup, but he was a big part in terms of his kicking game. I think it was in the quarter-final or the semi-final, and he's dependable, but he's actually, I think he's improved his game. He's got a lot more to him now, but I think the biggest thing for him is that probably his top 2 inches, he's probably not as anxious to prove everyone wrong. You know, like he looks like a guy who's like, actually, I know who I am. I know how I need to play. I play to my strengths, and you know, like he almost has accepted that. Take me or leave me. You know, and it just feels like that attitude's actually worked wonders for him because he looks fantastic.
Yeah, and England are looking good with him there.
Oh, mate, England. I don't know when the markets come out and gamble responsibly, of course, but they are a smoky for the World Cup and Aussie, I'll tell you that for free.
I was really, really impressed with England. I think, I looked in the first 10, 15 minutes, and, their pressure game, they know what their DNA is. Like, they are just not going to play anywhere inside their half. They've got a really good kicking game with Alex Mitchell, whether it's just through a box kick off an exit, or they manufacture a George Ford spiral bomb to be able to put they put Bree Salmon under a lot of pressure. But so that's their DNA to be able to try and get it out of their half. And then when they do get into the attacking half, their face play shape is actually really, really good. Now I know Wales, for a couple of their tries, they were down to 13 men, but the interplay of their forwards, whether it's through their tip balls, inside balls, being able to get over the advantage line. But I love it that their backs are calling it at the right time. Like if you look at a lot of their tries, the forwards did all the hard work, being able to get over the advantage line, get them really nice and tight, and then they would pull trigger. You can see it actually in some of the wider views that they are ready to be able to pull trigger and be able to score on the edge. So I really like what I'm seeing from England, and they're very, very impressive, and they're only getting better.
Now, okay, let's have a look at this weekend then. Italy versus Ireland. Ireland at home, Chipper?
Yeah, Ireland.
Ireland 100% on Ireland for you.
Yeah.
A bounce back. I mean, if they played the way they did against France, you might give them a chance.
Nah, I think they'll make some changes. They got some good impact off the bench. It just was very uncharacteristic. It just didn't look like Ireland.
Yeah.
They just didn't play. It was very basic.
Scotland versus England, Brenner?
Nah, England. Yeah, I think Scotland were disappointed. I think there will be a few changes. Like you think your King Hordes will come back. Maybe Van der Merwe might come back. But I think England are too good at the moment.
They have had the wood over England in this game though when it's at Murrayfield. It's been one of their games that they seem to live for. But man, I don't see many weaknesses in that England side, and I don't see Murrayfield playing that big a role to turn those sides around.
In what world does Wales beat France this weekend?
They don't.
They don't. In no world.
They do not. I feel for Wales. Like they just look. Unfortunately, it looks like they've got a group there that is learning on the job, and it's no fault of their own. Like they're obviously the best players available, but it's just brutal.
Yeah.
It just looks hard. It looks like a training run. Like England. I know England were good, but like that looked way too easy. The thing that when I say it's way too easy is when they're on their line defensively, Wales, England are getting balls out the back, and then and there's no close. Like I don't know. It's like they're just sitting, waiting to be beaten.
Yeah.
Fly. I'd rather you have a crack and get an intercept or something, or smash someone behind the gain line than just let them pass and score. Anyway.
Yeah, especially when you've been losing that often like that. Boy, just show some effort.
It's brutal.
The
top 2
will
inches,
not be a change.
It plays a hell of a lot. Confidence is massive in professional sport.
That many cards, you can't win with that many cards, especially if you're not playing that well. You're just in all sorts of trouble.